Hey guys, it's been a long ass time since I've made a video, and I just want to say that it's really good to see all of you. I'm here with my special guest, actually my significant other, Sasha. Say hi.
Hello!
So basically today's topic is something new. I'm not going to rant about Quantum TV and his bullshit and a bunch of other crap. We're actually going to talk about, how games can be rushed in development and how fans can be a good thing or a bad thing with games. It's a mixed bag, don't you think, babe? About,
Yeah,
how developers... Back in the day, developers put a lot of time and effort into their games, and, the business model didn't have a lot of near say in shit. And they know if it's a big franchise, look at Call of Duty, for example. One of the biggest competitors. And did you hear the news about Microsoft gonna be buying out Activision Blizzard? And pretty much, they already own Activision Blizzard already. And they're gonna be holding on to Call of Duty. And how Sony literally posted online, legitimately, I think it was a day ago or something, you guys in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong, that Sony's absolutely scared because it was their biggest business seller, because no game could compete with that Call of Duty. It is a banger hit, and most of Sony's sales records come from COD, because Sony's tried to make first-person shooters in the past, and a lot of them failed. The only ones that were really good were actually frickin' Killzone 1, 2, and 3, and then Resistance 1 and 2 were good, but the third one was kind of the bastard child, and then there was Shadowfall that basically killed the Killzone franchise, but that wasn't even made by Sony. That was made by Guerrilla Games, who went out to make other stuff. So, babe, what game that you like, that everybody shits on, that had a rough development?
See, that would have to be... Let me think here. I would say that would have to come down to probably... I want to say, like, Jedi Fallen Order kind of got a little bit of problems coming out, but not a whole lot, to my knowledge.
Yeah, the development for that game actually went pretty steady, but the thing is, you heard about the whole situation with the Knights of the Old Republic remake getting pushed back because of a bunch of shit happening in the company. That the game is having a rough development, and a lot of fans are scared that the game is, some people were speculating, that I heard through the grapevine, that a lot of people speculated that there's a possibility, imagine it getting canceled, or them having to go to a different freaking company for the remake, the remaster and everything, which brings to the point of game development and how a rushed product can affect sales. Like, look at Cyberpunk 2077, for example. It got shit on a lot because the developers actually lied about a lot of shit. And they lied about the whole Keanu Reeves actually, like in the game. In an interview, he literally said he's never played the game. They overhyped the fuck out of it because that game was announced back in 2014, I think, or probably later than that, correct me if I'm wrong. That it had a long, it was announced a long ass time ago, and it was originally, I think, to be on the original, on PC, Xbox, I think Xbox, maybe it could have been Xbox 360, or frickin' PS3. It was originally going to be that title, or it was going to be an Xbox One and PS4 title, and then development got so jumbled that when the game came out, it ran like shit on past-gen consoles because it wasn't even meant to run on those consoles. And the PC players had a lot of issues from save issues from car glitches to animation bullshit. The game's gotten a lot better over the ages, but it's still a mess. And it makes me sad when developers get kind of screwed. Like, we're not just going to be talking about games with development hell, we're going to talk about developers screwing out other developers out of shit. Do you have any examples of, like, a developer screwing another game company out of its ass?
Well, I mean, the only one that... I think there was something like with the whole Microsoft buying up things, because well, we'll go to Bethesda, because they have been promising a Elder Scrolls 6 forever now, but with Microsoft buying up Bethesda, the whole Elder Scrolls 6 being a thing is sort of now being questioned, because is Microsoft just going to stick with the big name games, or just keep doing the Skyrim re-releases, or are they going to try to push COD or more Fallout?
Because Fallout 5 has already been said that it's going to be in development, or it is in development. Elder Scrolls 6 is still, in the works. And then there was also, they're working on their new IP. I forgot the fucking name of it. Jesus Christ. Shit, I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm trying to think what it was. It's basically like Space Skyrim.
Oh, I think I know what it's called. Star something. Star Citizen.
No, it's not Star Citizen. Star Citizen's already out.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to Google that shit. Hold on. Starfield. It was Starfield.
Okay.
Star Citizen is another different game, but I should have done all this research, but this kind of video was like kind of a fly and me and my girl were just kind of, we were watching stuff for date night and then decided, you know what, we should do like a discussion hour thing and just do a video on it. But Starfield, that game has been in development for such a long fucking time, and a lot of fans are still skeptical about it because, like, Bethesda is like promising a bunch of shit, and it kind of brings me to how the Rise and Fall of the Fable franchise was. The director of... I forgot the fucking director's name for... frickin' goddamn Fable games. But he promised so much shit in each game and completely fucked out on those promises. Like, there were screenshots where if you were evil, your character could actually smoke. And you would have a big cigar and all this other shit. Freaking screenshots and shit. So I could have been some sexy-ass evil villainess with a big stogie and a bunch of other shit. They were gonna make your character really, really evil and add, like, different aesthetic shit. But a lot of that shit got cut. And the developer pretty much, like, the whole cigar thing was one of the things that pissed me off a bit, because I would have loved to have my character smoke in a game and be just kind of badass doing it. And the thing is that really gets to me is the developer of that game pretty much lied about a lot of shit. Fable 1 was good, Fable 2 was really good, Fable 3 was like the bastard child, and then there was going to be like this Fable MMO that was in development, and that got completely canned. Like, what are your opinions on that? Like, the developer, kind of like promising a bunch of shit and kind of lying through his teeth.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of a bullshit move there. But the other thing that I tend to try and look for in those situations would be, what did the, like, say, marketing team or heads at Bethesda, what was their role in that? Because lots of times,
the thing
again,
is, Bethesda didn't. Lion's Head Studios was the one who made Fable, not Bethesda. But you're talking about but you're talking about like Bethesda and their business model.
Yeah, well, any game company's business model.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be Bethesda. It could be Ubisoft. It could be Sony. Whatever. But like, say, you know, I've noticed, especially here lately, that these companies tend to put a lot of executive control into games. Such as, for example, something that I've heard that, you know, I'm not sure if I haven't been able to confirm it yet, but supposedly, one of Ubisoft is in the process of removing all access to one of the Assassin's Creed games.
A shit ton of them, actually. A crap ton. It's not just one. It has been confirmed. I read an article about it, like, last month, that they're cutting all access to DLCs and everything, and a lot of people, like, I do not advise this, people. Piracy is illegal, but a lot of people have been considering pirating these Assassin's Creed games and a lot of these Ubisoft titles because they don't want to lose the DLCs. Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed 2, and a bunch of other Ubisoft games are getting their DLCs that you have activated, turned off. Imagine them doing that several years down the road to, like, fucking, you know, Origins, frickin' Ragnarok, and goddamn, what is it? Freaking, what was the other game? Odyssey. Imagine that happening several years down the road. They've already fucked a bunch of people over by shutting off a bunch of Tom Clancy game servers, including, Future Soldier, freaking, I think the Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2, freaking, fuck, I played this shit a lot with my friend Ajax. Vegas, Tom Clancy's Vegas and Vegas 2 got their server shut down.
Rainbow Six Siege?
Yeah, no, not Siege. Rainbow Six Vegas.
Yes, yeah. And that is an old game.
Yeah, and I understand why, but they... You know, fans on the PC version have already made dedicated servers for those games to continue to play with their friends, because Ubisoft kind of, like... I want to get into Ubisoft, actually, because Ubisoft had a great track record back in the day, and they were pumping out great games. Exactly. I said, like, Far Cry 3 is considered the quintessential Far Cry game. And nothing can beat it. If you go onto YouTube and you look up top Far Cry games, Far Cry 3 will be on top of every goddamn list, because people have sucked that game's cock so hard because it's a good game. Great story, great world, the weapons feel nice, your actions actually matter. And that's the problem with the Ubisoft syndrome, as a lot of us fans like to call it, that they're forcing, like, you notice how in a lot of their games where you activate towers and you have to climb to open parts of the map? Fucking Assassin's Creed was kind of doing that way before. I
think Assassin's Creed actually sort of set the precedence on that.
Yeah, it did. The first game did. And then, like, Assassin's Creed 1 was great. 2 was fan-fucking-tastic. 3 was bastardized. 4 was... going back. Syndicate was good. Frickin' Rogue had mixed feelings about it. What was the other one? There was another one that was really fucking terrible that came out.
Unity.
Unity was terrible, and a lot of my friends argued with me saying, "Oh, Unity was good." No, Unity had so many games.
Oh my god, I tried playing Unity and that game just pissed me off to no end.
When it first came out, you played it, right? Where it was buggy as all like,
actually no. This was later on. It's just the problem that I had with it is, playing the other Assassin's Creed games. This one it felt off. It just felt completely disconnected from the entire Assassin's Creed franchise.
That's the problem with, like, certain games, like, look at Gears of War Judgment. Everybody shitted on that game so hard, but a YouTuber, I don't know his name, covered it and actually gave it some limelight. And he's like, yeah, it's not a perfect game, but it's actually really good, and people should give it another chance. Another thing is with Ubisoft, they copy and paste shit in every game. All their Far Cry games seem to be a copy and paste of one another with some new mechanics. And a lot of fans will agree with me that the whole RPG mechanic thing is bullshit. I'm gonna be that one person that I actually liked New Dawn because I was playing with my girlfriend at the time, and I had a lot of fun with it because I was playing with somebody. And I do like Far Cry 6. Far Cry 6 is actually a lot of fun. If there was a mode where you could turn off the RPG mechanics, that would be great, and the DLCs were alright, but Far Cry 3 set the standard of what a Far Cry game should be. 2 has a lot of people hate it too because the whole, you have malaria and you have to inject yourself constantly or you'll just randomly die. And the game got a lot of frickin' hate and slander, and there are fans out there that'll defend that game because they look at it through rose-tinted glasses and they don't see the problems with it. And that's the problem with a lot of gamers, is that nostalgia can blind you from the truth and blind you from what's right in front of you. Like, I will admit that I had that back when I played Ocarina of Time, and now that I look at it, it's not a perfect game. It hasn't aged well. The music's great and everything, but Ego Raptor, a man who I don't really give a crap about anymore, I don't really care about Aaron Henson anymore because I don't want to get into that whole tangent because Jesus Christ, that would be a 3-hour-long video. That he talked about it, and I had the same exact feelings that there are some of the things in the game that he didn't like, and trust me, he got fucking roasted by the purists of the fanboys of Ocarina of Time. His comments actually got flooded with hate because of his honest opinion. And I'm just sitting here like, he was comparing it to Link to the Past, which is a hard game to compare it to, but there are a lot of things that are comparable. Like how the world's set up and this, that, and the other, and all this other shit that just, for me, I want to see Ubisoft be what they used to be. But with, I think you heard about when, I think Ragnarok was getting developed, one of the developers was actually having a fling with a kid, with an underage minor, and he ended up getting fucking fired because of it. I think he was one of the, I don't know who he was in the team, but I read up an article about that, and Ragnarok is not a perfect game. I was super hyped for it because fucking Vikings, my guy. And the combat just felt weird with some of the weapons. And every update seems to break more and more shit. I ended up uninstalling it and going back to Odyssey and Origins because those games were really good. Like, Origins was fantastic. Ancient Egypt. And then, the thing is, a lot of the pure fans of Assassin's Creed, like, oh, Assassin's Creed is not Assassin's Creed anymore. You're fucking stepping into new territory. Oh, I don't like this. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. The thing is that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they wanted to try something new. The old fans...
Which there's nothing wrong with.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with trying something new. It's just when you get, like, the purists and the fundamentalists that are, oh, it's not Assassin's Creed if it doesn't have like Ezio or somebody like that in it.
It's not just that. It's not that. It's the mechanics. Because the older
True.
games were more about stealth and shit. I'm like, you can still be fucking stealthy in the newer games, but a lot of people are like, oh, you just can beat your shit. You'll be button mash your way out of situations. And I'm like, that's what Ragnarok feels like. Because in Odyssey and Origins, you actually had to think outside the box on your combat situations and not just swing your weapon, because your enemy could literally have a shield. You have to rip the shield from them and then beat the shit out of them, blah, 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 and you can still be freaking stealthy and shit. It's just, it's not a main focus of the game anymore.
Yeah. And then there's also, weapons that have detrimental effects to the character itself. Like, there's a spear in the game that if you're wielding it, it drops your health by a quarter.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, while the spear itself does a buttload of damage, you have less health, so it's sort of like a balancing act there.
It's like a double-edged sword. You do more damage, but you have lower health.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is, babe, that I want to get into, but you can finish what you were saying before I start this topic.
But yeah, like Origins, like I really loved Origins because like you said, it can have the stealth aspect to it. Like, you can go around and be sneaky and do the assassination stuff all you want, but then push comes to shove, as long as you have the resources, you can bulldoze your way out of a situation. It's just, you have to try and think through and plan ahead as to what's the best method of approach to do this, where you're not going to get your ass handed to you.
Because in the previous Assassin's Creed games for me, there was numerous ways you could tackle situations. Like, you could think of a million ways to do it, and Odyssey and Origins gave you even more options to take care of your situation. Like, you could be on a boat. Black Flag was probably the one that pushed the envelope the most on options on how to approach a situation. Do you go in there guns blazing and kill everything, but risk alerting everybody, or this, that, and the other? Do you do this? Do you, like, hire prostitutes like in the other game to finagle with the soldiers and sneak past? Do you put your hood up and act casual and blend in with the crowd to get into the area you need to go? Yeah. It's like, in Origins and Odyssey and Ragnarok, I want to bring up the elephant in the room. The fucking microtransactions.
Oh.
Buying EXP because you're too fucking lazy to grind, or buying weapons that you can't earn in game. I will admit that I bought a couple things. There was a Q-tip that you can get. You can just murder somebody with a giant Q-tip, which is fucking hilarious, and ride a unicorn into battle. But other than that, the microtransactions are basically optional. There are a lot of people that I've seen that literally bought levels in Odyssey because they didn't want to stay in the area and explore the world they were given to explore. They were like, oh, I'm going to spend all this money on shit so I don't experience the game and have the game on autopilot. And for those players, I think they're fucking morons. You don't freaking...
Yeah, and then like, 9 times out of 10,
exactly.
These are the same people that want to complain about the game being broken.
I'm like, you want to spend $60 on a freaking game just to have an easy way through and buy all this shit and buy points so you can have your character at max and just say, oh, the game's too easy. Maybe if I look at your fucking bank account, oh, look, you spent over $200 or more on this game for the sake of being fucking stupid and not enjoying it. Because there were a lot of people that legitimately I've seen have bought the in-game currency so they can base through shit, because I'm halfway through Origins, and a lot of the areas, I've 100%ed. Like, getting all the papyrus things, getting the runes and shit that are hitting around, not runes, these, thingies that are hitting around, fighting chests, doing the side quests. And I've gained a lot of EXP doing this and exploring the areas that the developers gave me.
Yeah.
And when you have that one fucking neckbeard that has Dorito-encrusted fingers going, actually, you can spend money so you don't have to do that. And I would just look at this frickin' shit-encrusted asshat and look at him and be like, dude, no. Like,
I mean, that literally takes the fun out of the game.
I will admit that I'm kind of a hypocrite, because I did that with Call of Duty for COD bucks just to get certain guns so I didn't have to grind for them. But I still grinded for the other all the other versions of those guns and everything, and basically unlocked shit. And I didn't play multiplayer. I only did it for zombies. So I'm kind of a hypocrite in that thing, but it wasn't just because some of the guns that you had to unlock had the most redundant fucking unlocks that you had to do, and that was a problem with a lot of the Call of Duty games. Like, the other games, the earlier games, like Black Ops 1 and 2, you unlocked shit as you went on. Hell, even Modern Warfare 2 and 3, you unlocked shit by playing survival mode and doing other things, and you unlock those weapons and attachments and stuff like that. You didn't have to play multiplayer. You could play, like, the side modes and still unlock shit. And then you got frickin' Warzone where, oh, you gotta get 15 headshots with a frickin' handgun in Warzone. Before the match ends, you gotta fucking do all this stupid, like, jumping through hoops just to get a gun that probably sucks fucking ass in the first place, and you wasted your time grinding for it. But
well, I think that's another thing that would fall into the monetary scheme of things, going back to the business model, because when you make these ridiculous loops that you have to jump through to unlock things, and just make it so much of a pain in the ass to try and get these weapons and attachments and everything, and then be like, oh, you could spend $5 and just buy the gun right now. It's not always, but most of the time people are going to be like water and go to the path of least resistance and say, okay, I could spend $5, or I could, try to get 50 shots with a handgun in a match.
And the thing is, even if you do buy points to buy the gun, you just buy a variant of it. You don't buy the actual, base gun.
Mm-hmm.
You buy, like, a special version of that gun. And you'll get all these attachments that you can hook to it, but you have to look at the base gun itself to look at some of these. Or I'm pretty much wrong, probably. Because I played a lot of Cold War Zombies, and I didn't like normal multiplayer because, how the COD community can really be kind of a bunch of fucking assholes most of the time.
Yeah.
But it brings me to the point of, like, back to Ubisoft before we got derailed into Call of Duty, but it kind of connected with that same... It's still connected with the same conversation of the, like, buying stuff instead of unlocking them, periodically throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
That there are games out there that Ubisoft have released over the years, and it seems with each Call of Duty title, it's like, not Call of Duty title, fuck, I'm an idiot, my mind's still in COD. With every Assassin's Creed game, it seems they're diving deeper and deeper into a hole where Ragnarok was not well received by a lot of fans. And after a while, it did get better, and some fans still freaking like the game and think it's a great game. When my brother got Odyssey day one, he ended up buying it. We ended up watching YouTube videos on it, and we ended up getting it, and I realized, I'm like, when did this game come out? Just now. My brother just purchased it, and he's like, what the fuck? I just bought it day one. I'm like, yeah. I watched him play it. And during the course of this summer, he actually put so much fucking time into the game. Like, I could hear wolves howling. Sorry, I got a speech impediment, guys. Howling through my wall because he was playing it days on days when he wasn't working. He would put countless hours into it, and he would call me in his room, hey, Liz, you gotta go check this shit out. And I just come into his room, and I'm just seeing him beating the monkey shit out of some guy, and he's just showing me all this stuff that he earned by leveling up and playing the game on its own. And Ubisoft is a shell of its former self. It is no longer that. Look at EA. EA did make some good games, and then look at them now. Hell, the frickin' CEO literally said that good devs and frickin' EA are fucking idiots. He literally called them dumbasses. It shows how far down the rabbit hole EA's, business model is, that they're just corporate scumbags at this point, where they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna release, the next Battlefield. Oh shit, oh crap, back to my song. We're gonna release the next goddamn Battlefield, and you know what's gonna have? It's gonna have hookers and strippers, and you can use a dildo attachment. And I'm just sitting here like, what the absolute fuck is wrong with you? Like, Jesus Christ. And next you're gonna be a Filipino hooker with a fucking wingsuit with a strap-on dildo that you can launch and blow tanks up with. It's an anti-tank dildo or some shit strap-on. Like, at this point in time, EA is more like Electronic ass than Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I know EA from, like, the Madden games and whatnot.
No shit, they were like the dead center for sports games and a lot of the fucking Harry Potter games that were licensed, like Quidditch World Cup and a bunch of other games.
But, I mean, that kind of gets into another topic there where I kind of think at this point, and it's not just pertain to, EA and Madden and, like sports games, but, it's the concept of the, what do they call it? Like the deluxe passes and stuff like that for games. Because there was one that I saw a couple days ago where it was a 2K NBA, the new NBA game from 2K, and they have a deluxe Michael Jordan edition of the game.
Not Michael Jordan, I think it was somebody else, or it was just some famous basketball player that I don't know who the fuck it was. And I'm 90% certain it was Michael Jordan, because up until recently, Michael Jordan had been the face of basketball. But anyway, this deluxe version costs $150. And what do you get in it? Basically they said it was just you get a special, licensed or signed jersey that goes in the game.
and with a couple other things that you could have been put in it, or sort of like extra features that are not going to cost a game to go from $60 to $160.
For a spending, I know there's a lot of 2K fans out there that literally spent that money like fucking idiots. Oh, I gotta sign a jersey from Michael Jordan. I almost said Michael Jackson. Yeah, just Michael Jackson moonwalking on the basketball field. He does a shot. He does a shot. Ow! But yeah, I remember reading about that shit and hearing from people that through friends of mine who have buddies that are just big sports nuts and waste their money and like, oh dude, I bought this this really expensive edition of 2K. I'm like, you meant the same game with a different fucking guy on the cover, and it's the same shit over and fucking over again with microtransactions to make any fucking progression whatsoever. It's kind of like the Madden games where they're like the Madden games or the wrestling games where they're all the same shit with just different people and just the same fucking feature shoehorned into the game. Yeah. And when I heard that when he spent that money on that version, because I remember the jersey, he's like, "Oh, I'm getting a signed jersey from Michael Jordan." And I'm like, "Oh my god, you gotta send me a picture of it when you get it." He's like, "Oh, it's digital." I'm like, "You're a fucking moron." All my friends just look at him like, "Dude, you spent over $100 and something, $160 to $50 on a digital signed shirt. You are fucking stupid." And he freaking screamed at us like, "Oh, you're just jealous." I'm like, "What? That you just used your brain dead, and you bought something?" It's like me buying a new car, buying a car for like over $250,000, and then find out that it was some stupid some stupid ad where I go in and buy the car, and the picture looks all new, and it's some rusted piece of shit with a tire missing, and a homeless guy making coke in the back of the back trunk of the car, having a fucking meth lab. It's like fans are willing to shell out money for the same shit every year. For stupid, like the collector's editions used to be a DLC. Pre-orders used to be not even mandatory back then, because I remember before it was GameStop, it was Electronics Boutique, it was EB Games, and pre-orders go back all the way back to, I think, the PlayStation 2, or even further than that. That when San Andreas came out, a lot of people pre-ordered the game and everything and whatnot. And now, like, some of the pre-order bonuses of games in the past, like the 360, like pre-order ODST and you get Sergeant Avery Johnson, and everybody stroked their dick for it, and it was awesome. You got to play as Sergeant Johnson in Firefight. And the ad campaigns for, like, the Halo games were badass for Halo 3. And the Believe trailer was fantastic, and Halo Reach had some really good trailers, and frickin' Halo 3, Halo 2, like, there was so many good Halo trailers. Even the early Call of Duty trailers were pretty badass for Modern Warfare 1 and 2. You had Modern Warfare 2 with a rap song by Eminem playing in the frickin' background, and it was just like, it was getting you hyped because Modern Warfare 2 is like the best game in the franchise, and everybody loved it so much, and then now it's getting a remaster, and it needs to live up to its hype, because Modern Warfare 2019... or I think it was 2019 or 2016, I don't know. I think it was 2019 comes out, and it had a mixed review. It barely had any weapons and maps when it came out. It was just, like, that's the problem with a lot of Call of Duty games. Like, Vanguard was a bastard of a game because it only came out with one zombie map and a few maps, and the game was already riddled with hackers. My friend Brick, he can literally tell you that when we were playing the beta, the free multiplayer beta, there were already fucking cheaters. Guys running like a Mach 10, shooting us through walls. I was able to mow half of these fuckers down and blow their legs off with the MG42, but still. It's ridiculous. That's another topic I'm gonna get into later. The thing is, how I see it with, you know, the business model of EA and Ubisoft, they don't really care. I don't know if you know the story about Alien Colonial Marines and how Sega got lawsuited for that game.
See, I played Colonial Marines way back in the day.
It was
but
it was a terrible game. And the reason why is that a guy messed up the code for the AI, and several years later, some guy turned a 1 into a 0 or 0 into a 1 and fixed the AI, and it was actually playable. And Sega showed off a trailer, and the game looked fantastic. And then we see actual gameplay. It wasn't what they showed. They lied, and they got sued for it. I actually have a physical copy of Colonial Marines. I actually bought a copy. I have it digitally on my 360 as well. I'm probably gonna buy the PC version just to go through it to show people how bad this game was. And the thing is that EA has fucked a lot of companies. Anything they touch turned to dog shit. Remember Visceral Games and how they were making Dead Space, and then the third game kind of sucked, and then EA is like, you know what? Fuck you. We own the license to this now. You guys are fired. Goodbye. And they're already making a game called the Callisto Protocol. And Visceral Games is making, they're like, you know what, fuck it. We're gonna make our own, like, Dead Space-like game. And the Callisto Protocol is the game that they're developing. I'm like, this is a Dead Space ripoff. And one of my friends is like, dude, that's the same developers of the original Dead Space. And then, to rub salt in the wound, EA's like, you know what? We're remastering Dead Space 1 and redoing it. Because, you know what? Fuck you. The game looks great. I've seen some early game footage. And how you cut the skin and flesh and stuff off, like necromorphs, the body viscera is a lot more detailed than it was in the original. And it made me sad that EA was like just basically sticking their dick in a hornet hive, in an anthill, a red anthill or a bullet anthill at this point, because they seem to bite the hand that feeds them, as well as, oh, we're gonna we're gonna fire this company that made a bomb-ass franchise and reinvented horror in new ways and aspects. And then after one bad game, that they decided to fucking fire them. And frickin' another thing that happened was, remember the owner of Epic Games, Cliff Bleszinski, how he made his own first-person shooter and it flopped after a week and the game, like, died? And then he said pretty much, fuck it, and just didn't get back into game development. Like, after Cliffy B left Epic after Gears 3, Ron Ferguson and a bunch of guys made the Coalition and worked on Gears 4 and 5. 5 got a mixed reception. 4 was pretty damn fun. I really liked 4. I beat it in a span of like 2 days. It was a great game. I enjoyed it. 5, the 4-player, the 3-player co-op was ridiculous because 2 people play as the main characters, and then you play the 3rd player plays as a fucking robot. And you don't even get to do anything. You can bring ammo to your friends and disable enemies, and you're basically just R2-D2 that can fly. And it just sucks when games, Halo Infinite, for example, the multiplayer, somebody at Microsoft, there is a theory going around, and this conspiracy theory, but I believe it. It's not really conspiracy theory, it's hard facts that someone at Microsoft or 343 is on purposely sabotaging Halo Infinite's multiplayer. because they decided to go with the free-to-play model. And then they fucked people with the cosmetics, and, oh, you can't use certain armor cores with certain armor sets, you can't do this, that, and the other, you can't mix-match shit like you could in Reach. The battle pass progression was bullshit, the challenges were shitty. At least the campaign was good. The campaign was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I didn't beat it completely because I've been playing a fuck ton of other things. But the thing is, what I was playing of Infinite's campaign, I really enjoyed it. It's just Halo is not the same with the original group anymore. Like, I know Frank O'Connor, and the only reason Halo Infinite story did really well is because they got Joseph Staten, the original story writer for Halo 1, 2, 3, Reach, and ODST. He was the original story writer. And they pulled him on board just in time. Because that poor man has gone through so much shit. Bungie, he had lore set out for Destiny 1. And he wanted to implement the game. And you know what? The Bungie was like, we're gonna put them in cards that you get, and then they have to go to the Bungie website and read this lore. When he disagreed, they're like, you know what, get the fuck out, and they fired him on the spot over it.
Jesus Christ.
Marty O'Donnell has gotten screwed by fucking Bungie. Bungie is a shell of it once was. It's not the same company that released banger after banger every freaking several years. We had to wait till I think 2007 to around 2008. I think it was 2007 for Halo 3 because Halo 2's ending was so controversial with its cliffhanger because there were so many missions that were cut out. Like, they weren't even gonna make a Halo 3. If they had all that more time, because Halo 2's development was legit hell. Hidden Xperia, a YouTuber, actually did a video on Halo 2's freaking development. And there was going to be a whole thing where you were going to go on Earth and you were going to defeat the Prophet of Truth, and the series was going to end there. It was going to end at Halo 2. But since they had to do, cut after cut after cut, they had to make a third game. They're like, how the hell are we going to live up to Halo 2? We got to take everything that we learned from Halo 2 and Combat Evolved and put it into this game. And Halo 3 sold like hotcakes. Its multiplayer freaking skyrocketed. And several months ago, the original Bungie's online servers for all the Halo games on 360 first they removed them from the Xbox store, and then after several months, or I think a few years, I think it was like earlier this year, they shut down the servers permanently for the Halo games for 360. So a lot of people jumped on and played with their friends one last time. Because since MCC is a thing, it's whatever, but it makes me sad that companies that used to be so high in regard end up taking a frickin' nosedive dick first into a cactus field.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things, like, I want to bring up is, and this is something that's a little more personal to me, though, because I'd say Prince of Persia in the Sands of Time is my favorite game, hands down. Now, they are doing a remake of this game that is supposed to be released in December, from last I heard. But this game has been getting pushback after pushback after pushback. Like, the original release date, I think, was supposed to be, like, April of 2021 or something like that.
Yeah, of last year, I remember.
And it keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And now, me as an avid fan of that game, I am actually concerned about how are they going to do it? Are they going to... Like, according to articles that I've read on it, they've said that they're keeping it close to the original story. They're just changing some of the outfits and maybe like weapon textures and stuff like that, and just basically enriching the environments. As long as they do that, I'll be fine with it. But it's going to be how, like, are they, if they make changes to like the story,
Yeah.
what kind of changes? And like how bad? Because like I've played that game so much, I have it completely memorized. But they say it's just going to depend on how much of the changes they're going to make to it, because for the most part when I see remasters, like,
Remakes
I
and
don't
remasters
think
are two different things. Remakes are
Okay.
completely different, the same game, but redefined and redone in its own thing, and then a remake, it's a totally different separate entity from the original, but still following the same source material. And a remastered is just, sometimes the game's textures get jumped up a bit, and they fix a bunch of shit. Like, here's an example. Look at the original Mass Effect. That game has aged like milk. It still looks pretty good for a 360 title. But when they released the Legendary Collection, that they bumped up the game's graphics exponentially for the first game. And they fixed a bunch of shit that literally pissed off fans, like the whole driving the Mako. The controls were so freaking floaty, they made them a little tanky so they're not as bad. And they fixed the gun aiming mechanics. They fucking made it where even classes that suck with certain guns can still technically use them somehow, somewhat. And, like, that game is a remaster, not a remake. Those games have not been redone in any way, just extra lighting, fixed textures, this, that, and the other. And the thing is, for me, like, I'm trying to think of it. A remake, Thief. Remember Thief? The Thief franchise. If it's a stealth game that has been on PC for a longest time. And the funny thing is, the Prince of Persia series goes back farther than, GameCube and PS2. It was an old, original game. For, like, I think it was an old school, like...
I think it goes back as far as Windows 95.
Yeah, the game is that old. And the thing is that when... I'm trying to think where I was. When they did the Spider Dragon Reunited trilogy, that game was redone from the ground up. They took everything that they looked at the original, and they gave a it was the same game, but everything looked better. Like next gen textures, same with the Crash Bandicoot, Insane trilogy that came out. It was the same game, but a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah.
And
so, to my knowledge, that's what the Prince of Persia game is it's just supposed to, what they've done is just basically took the original game and they've basically adapted it for next-gen consoles.
Yes, and put a, new graphical engine and everything on it. Like, if you look at a remake, like the RE4 remake, the RE3 remake, or the RE2 remake, there's a lot of things in that game that weren't in the original. Like, remember when Mr. X busts through Leon's talking to that guy in that jail cell, and then Mr. X, just rips his face open? That wasn't in the original at all. It wasn't in the original Resident Evil 2. There were a lot of things that were relatively new to that game in its entirety compared to the original. So that was a remake. That was a legitimately game with a fresh coat of paint, and there was a lot of things that were new added to it, but having somewhat a similar story.
Yeah. Well, and something else I heard too, especially about like Resident Evil 2, is that that game actually went through quite a bit of development hell because, from what I was told, is that the original concept of the game was nothing like what it is today, or like what it was when it was released. Then they were basically almost done with it, and then we're like, well, I forget what they said. It was either too close to the original to be considered separate, or not connected, or I think it was not connected. So they basically just scrapped it and redid the whole game from scratch in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that was for the original Resident Evil 2, right? Like, they legitimately...
Yeah, the original Resident Evil.
Yeah, they didn't like what they were doing.
It was something like...
They didn't
It was something like 3-4 months. They just scrapped what they had and just started completely over again.
And the funny thing is that there's a YouTuber called Metal Jesus Rocks, if you've never seen his content. Him and his buddy Reggie will go out and buy a bunch of shit and then make a video that's like 55 minutes long to 40 minutes long of them like showing the games, talking about them, and then showing gameplay of them. Reggie ended up getting a Resident Evil PlayStation collection with all of them, even the prototype 1.0 of Resident Evil 2. That's never been released to the public, of what the game was originally gonna be, and the game looked played boring as hell. Reggie said, so that's the reason why they scrapped it to make a new one. And I'm very grateful that Resident Evil 2 became kind of like the quintessential Resi game. Like, cause the first one, like the Resident Evil games, the writing was cheesy as all fuck when it came to dialogue.
Yeah.
But they were still good games. And then a lot of fans are, I don't want to say, are pretty pissy. Resident Evil 4 fans are pretty pissy about the remake of RE4. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, pull the head out of your hamster hole and just, let's see, because that game's not coming out until 2023. It's already been announced that the game, it's not slated for this year, it's slated for next, and it gets to the point where, why didn't they just start with Resident Evil 4 to begin with? Like, start out swinging. Like,
yeah.
I think, and the funny thing is, I think it was like a year after Resident Evil 2 Remake came out that they were immediately working on Resident Evil 3 Remake, because they already had they just used the assets from this, that, and the other, and a lot of fans were kind of underwhelmed with that game in its entirety. Like, I liked it for what it was, but the thing is, fans can get kind of, ravenous when it comes to certain games. Like, you trash on something they like, they'll frickin' rip your frickin' head off and then shit down your neck.
Oh, it's not just video games. I mean,
movies, books, TV series.
One of the things in the movie book area that absolutely just drives me up the wall is when people will shit on a movie adaptation of a book because it's not a play-by-play of the book. You can't do an exact play-by-play of a book because
there's so much
detail in the books that you might as well just make a TV series out of it if you want to even get close. And then there's other things where, books will describe, like, people's feelings and stuff like that. You can't properly portray that in a movie. I mean, you can get close with, like facial expressions and stuff like that.
But you're asking too much of the actor.
Exactly.
Push themselves above and beyond their actual roles and shit. And the thing is that, like, there's a YouTuber that I watch named Arlo, and he's like this furry puppet grommet looking guy. Frickin' he looks like Oscar the Grouch Brooklyn. And I love his content. Shout out to Arlo. If you haven't checked out his content, guys, he's a fantastic YouTuber. He has said some stuff in the past, like his Sonic 2 review for the Sonic 2 movie. He said some shit that pissed off a lot of fucking people, but he came back and apologized for it and explained. And it wasn't really drama, it was just he got under so much backlash because of it. And I like the guy, but I do not like his takes on Pokemon as much because he's not a big fan of the series. And every video that he does with like Pokemon games, it seems like it's a freaking shit take on them. But it's just coming from his perception, not perceptive. But I watched a video literally yesterday of how excited he is for Scarlet and Violet. Because that game looks freaking pretty as hell. Holy shit, that game looks good. But I'm still gonna be sleeping with one eye open about the game because, I don't want them making the same mistakes as they did with Sword and Shield and a bunch of other shit. But the thing is that YouTubers in a whole can have their own opinions, and everybody does. But for me, when it comes to games, and I don't really like talking about the stuff that I like because it's not afraid of criticism. I'm afraid of being judged by people and saying, oh, you like these games. It's like people saying, oh, Nintendo is for children and blah, 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 and a lot of this, that, and the other. Yes, it's targeted for a younger audience, but adults can enjoy Nintendo games too, and then we get called babies for enjoying stuff on Nintendo. Oh, you play Mario? Well, I'm hardcore. I play Call of Duty, and I tell a kid to go fuck his mother. Like, yeah, you're an immature little shitbag on the internet.
Yeah. Well, just to add further light to that, the perfect example of it, what you're talking about with being the judged is all you have to do is look at the Star Wars fandom.
Oh,
because if you like any set, right now it's the sequel trilogies. If you like any movie in there, people will come with the pitchforks and the torches and will try to burn your house down. Just because you like them. And then like when the Kenobi series was coming out, 2 episodes in, people were shitting bricks all over that series, saying it was trash and garbage and everything. It's like, the story is just getting started. They're trying to set up for the finale of the series, but you're already judging it 2 episodes in.
And then you look at Book of Boba Fett, which got raving reviews by people and fans alike, and frickin' Mandalorian, everybody was sucking its cock. And it was fantastic. Mandalorian was good. It was really, really good. I haven't finished it, but the episodes I've watched, I enjoyed. And the thing is that really gets to me is that when a series or a, like, Halo TV show deserves all it hates it gets, because apparently they haven't really done their fucking research, and thank God this is like the silver screen canon. And I look at that series, I watched a few episodes, and I liked the action sequences and stuff like that and all this other shit. They made Commander Keyes like a fucking bad guy, Spartans removing their, like, inhibitor things to make them, you know, more human. One of them dyes their fucking hair and ends up freaking getting killed, and Master Chief going absolute ape shit on a bunch of coveys. There's a human raised by the Prophet of Regret, and I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I look at it now, I'm like, in canon lore, they try to ask, hey, could humanity be part of the Covenant? And the prophets were like, no. Because the prophets already knew that their whole great journey was a lie. Because of a mistranslation. And all this, that, and the other. And Prophet of Truth kind of carried that to power where, you know, he didn't care if his fellow prophets died. And blah, blah, blah. And Halo 2 causing their schism. Oh god, now I'm sounding like Hidden Xperia, Halo YouTuber that I watch. But it's like, the TV series was terrible. There were some good scenes and there was some bad shit, but my freaking god. I really wish they did their godforsaken fucking research when they were making that TV series. But Paramount doesn't know how to do shit right. Like, legitimately, look at the Fairly Odd Parents freaking TV series. Complete shit. The animation fucking sucks. Butch Hartman is pretty much spreading his ass cheeks for Paramount, and Paramount has been known for making Nickelodeon really shitty live-action movies in the past. Some of them were pretty good. I think Snow Day was an alright movie. And making a bunch of other shit. I'm just sitting here like, why the fuck? Like, even their subscription service is not even fucking worth it, except for a few shows.
Yeah.
And you got, like, Hulu and Netflix that have really good shit. And then you have HBO Max that has some good shit, too.
Yeah. Yeah, now, while I haven't seen it, but apparently also to add on top of the
shit sandwich.
Well, the Halo adaptation, but debacle that was. Apparently, the Resident Evil series that was just done is even worse.
Yeah, I saw my brother watching that. It was like the live action show was terrible. I'm just sitting here like, it's like those live action fucking Resident Evil movies that are complete ass. I fucking hated those movies. They, like, the guy who played Albert Wesker was pretty freaking great, but other than that, the movies just sucked ass.
Well, and I think the main reason for that is, you know, in my opinion, and just based on from what I, you know, watching the movies, is that they did the video game characters dirty. Like, they're barely in the movies at all, and if they are, they're basically side or minor characters, and half the time, I mean, a couple of them even get killed off in the fucking movies.
Because remember when frickin' Chris was driving the truck and he was lighting a cigarette and then he ends up sacrificing himself?
Yeah.
He was injured. They made Jill Valentine smoke to be edgy. Like, that's what pissed me and my friend Drew off when we watched the movie. They're like, she didn't smoke at all. The whole Alice character was just bullshit. And speaking of video game adaptations of movies, Monster Hunter was a complete shit show. They basically took the same chick from the Resident Evil movies and threw her in this movie, and the movie could have been good. It could have been good. It could have been taking place in the same universe. They could have just did an animated movie, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Like, they did they did a series for Monster Hunter Stories, and that was really fucking well done. And then, yeah, remember the old fucking Godzilla 2000 movie that was really fucking bad?
Yes, I remember that movie.
That Godzilla movie was just terrible. Because in one of the movies, one of the frickin' Godzilla movies, they had that Godzilla fight a bunch of other Godzillas, and that one just got thermonucleared out of existence, like blown to shit as a joke. To basically shit on that movie. Like Shin Godzilla was a great movie. I actually own that, both in Japanese and in English. And those movies were frickin' fantastic. Shin Godzilla was a great movie. The King Kong vs. Godzilla movie was pretty alright. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard mixed things about it. Then the 2014 Godzilla movie, I saw that in theaters on my friend Danny's birthday. And when he roared, I legitimately, I sat there, I'm like, dude, my asshole just fucking puckered. And my friend's mom just looks over at me like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, it's like I have a saying. It's like when you see Legendary and Universal making a movie together, you know it's going to be good. But yeah, like I went to see it like the day after that movie. It was like the week it came out, and just the whole opening sequence to it was like, oh god, you know this movie's going to be good because I was a Godzilla fan growing up.
Hell, me and my best friend Billy watched every single classic Godzilla movie together. Yeah. And then we binged. One day he came over, we binged all the Alien movies. He's never seen them. He's like, dude, that black guy looks like Sergeant Johnson. I'm like, dude, the black guy in that movie, Sergeant Johnson, was actually based off of. Same with the Marines were based off the Colonial Marines.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say something that it's gonna piss off a lot of people, but that Aliens game that came out that was kind of like a horde mode based thing like Left 4 Dead was actually very fun. Yeah, it didn't have a lot of stuff coming out, like levels and stuff, but it was so much fucking fun. I think.
Are you talking about the Alien Fireteam game?
Yes, Aliens Fireteam Elite. I absolutely fucking love it. It feels like an Alien.
Some of the gameplay I've seen for that looks fantastic.
Like, dude, that freaking sound effect, hearing the pulse rifle go off, just hearing that nostalgia.
Yeah.
And going through that game is actually a lot of fun because the thing is, for me, that it makes me feel like I'm in Aliens, the second movie. I feel like I'm a part of that, universe, and I love that game a lot. And a lot of people are like, what the hell do you like the game? It's trash. And I'm like, hell, I used to dunk on World War Z, the video game. But after a while, I started playing it. Holy shit, stuff goes from 0 to 100 real quick in that game. One trip of alarm, you have, like, zombies climbing over each other to rip your fucking balls off. And then they added a first-person mode to the game, which made it even scarier. Having a wave coming at you and you're in that first person, my god. They added a bunch of shit. The game's gonna be getting new constantly gonna be getting more stuff added to it. It's those kind of games like Back 4 Blood. I actually found it enjoyable. Like, yes, I'm a Left 4 Dead fan, but for some reason, Back 4 Blood scratched this itch, and a new DLC and a new character's coming out. Later in August 25th. I got the season pass, so a new DLC is gonna be dropping. With a new character, some new weapons, and a bunch of other shit. And I'm just sitting here like, yes, it'll never live up to the expectations of Left 4 Dead, what Left 4 Dead released. But I just love the more weapons they added, because you can still add new. People are like, oh, on PC you can just mod Left 4 Dead 2 and add new weapons. Yeah, you can. And I know that because everything's all decked out with a bunch of Halo mods. Hell, I had a Garnivore with a frickin' 1911 to a frickin' Beretta, okay? I had Walter fucking White on my team.
We can't forget giggity giggity.
Oh my god, yes. Having the frickin' jockey sound like Quagmire was great. Like, there's some great mods in that game. But the thing is, as I said before, I don't like talking about stuff that I like most of the time because I get judged heavily. And it's not that I can't take criticism, I feel like I'm doing something wrong by liking those games. And then I kind of reel back and don't touch them anymore because I feel like if I play it, then I'm just a human piece of shit. But I started to ignore those kind of jabs.
Well, because really all that is just gatekeeping.
Yeah. And the funny thing is...
Because, again, with, like, going back to Star Wars is laced with gatekeepers.
So is the Warhammer 40k community. A lot of fucking... Oh, God, you have no clue how bad it can get. A woman, a female, wanted to end up playing a Warhammer game. She brought her squad and everything to a local game shop. And these stories I hear all the time. She sat down and she was getting her team ready, and every guy just ignored her. She asked, hey, do you want to play? The guy turns over. This is a man's game. Go in the kitchen. And women do not belong and don't deserve to be part of the Warhammer 40k community. And I sat there. Like, that woman was, like, was all by herself, and somebody sat down and played with her. Like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? And she's like, you're not gonna judge me? I'm like, dude, I welcome new players and everything. And the thing is that a lot of women or a lot of different people get, shunned out of franchises or, communities because this, that, and the other. Yeah. It's like... Imagine me being the top Call of Duty player, and I'm up there with the greats, and I'm doing fucking hella well, but nobody wants me on their team because I'm transgender, or I'm a gay dude, or I'm a person of color, or I have a different ethnicity. That's just racial profiling at this point, and being, just being sexist, or this, that. Oh, you're a girl, you don't belong.
That's just.
I don't want to get into that.
That's just being an asshole. That's all that is.
Exactly. It's just that, and I don't really like bringing that kind of shit up, but it's like people who gatekeep communities and try to push new fans for trying to experience something is hella wrong. Like, what the absolute fuck is wrong with you? These people want to experience this franchise, but they can't because of A, B, C, and D. One, the people are gatekeeping. Two, I can't be a woman like Warhammer 40k. I know a shit ton of friends that are dudes that are in the Warhammer 40k and they know I'm trans and they're like, welcome to the community. I've been part of the community for quite a few years. Same with the furry community and everything. And it's just, if you like something and you want to get into it and people are telling you the fuck off and you're not part of that, you will never be part of the community, don't frickin' listen to them, because they're just gatekeeping and trying to keep you out of something that they don't want you to sully with your fingers and shit and be like, oh, if we have trans people or, this, that, and the other in our community, they're just gonna, fucking ruin everything with their, with their equality and all this other political mumbo jumbo, and I'm just sitting here like,
that. Oh no, you're gonna ruin it with the rainbow. Fuck you.
Like, it's like games in general have its communities, which you look at the League of Legends communities, you look at the Smite communities, a lot of people, there are pretty nice people in those communities if you meet the right people. But half of the time the community is just full of fucking try-hard, sweaty, frickin' throw games on purpose idiots, because I hang out with my friend Angle, my friend May, and a couple of other people, and legitimately a guy who was playing Cupid literally intent feeding, and what intent feeding is that he literally got himself killed on purpose to throw the game for his team. And Angle, May, Letty, and Cat with Bones were on that team, and this Cupid, they literally surrendered because this Cupid was literally throwing the game on purpose.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
Which is a bannable offense. Like, Riot Games will literally be like, yeah, you're intent feeding, get the fuck, you're not allowed to be on this game.
Yeah. It's all a lot of horse shit when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't understand why people do that.
The reason why people do it, honey, is because they just suck. They don't want people getting into something they like because they're afraid that they're going to draw more of the same people and it's going to ruin the franchise for them, and they can't play it because of said so-and-so social rules. And
yeah,
it's like, I watch a lot of YouTubers like Gar of the Rage, Fratango Plays, Oh No It's Alex, Mischief, Brother Near, and a lot of them have covered, like, you know, fanboys on all spectrums. PC, Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. But the funny thing is, the worst offender has to be the PlayStation fanboys, because did you hear about the remaster of Last of Us?
I did hear something about that.
That they're willing to shell out it goes back to our previous conversation about shelling out like over $100 and something for this remaster. A lot of Sony fanboys are willing to shell out $170 to $160 fucking dollars for this game. It's that fucking bad. And just, the thing is, a lot of people, like, since a lot of people play on PC and stuff, or on console, and if a game runs at 60 frames per second, that Oh No It's Alex covered that, where that's the set standard. Like, 30 FPS is okay, kind of 40 is getting there, and 60 is the baseline of what games. They shouldn't be aiming for 30 anymore, they should be aiming for 40. Or maybe, how about 50? 40 or 50 frames per second. And people are like, oh, you can't tell the frame difference. Oh, when your frames drop, you'll notice real quick.
Oh yeah.
Because...
Yes, I was watching somebody on Twitch last night, and they were playing Metroid Prime on their computer with an emulator.
And you saw frame drops.
Oh, yeah, the emulator couldn't handle it because whenever they went into a big area, because not only did everything start moving ridiculously slow, like they were basically moving in slow motion, but the music would drop a couple paces as well with the frame rates.
Especially when we went into water. Your frames dipped. I tried to emulate that game and nope. Hell, the funny thing is, my PC can handle PlayStation 3, PlayStation 1, 2, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 3, and some high-intensive PC games. but it can't run Metroid fucking Prime. And Dolphin's a good emulator, but they need to work out more shit on that fucking app. Like, my god. I had to download like 3 different versions of it to run certain freaking games, and like, my PlayStation 2 emulator does dip occasionally, but it's not as bad as it used to be. And back to what we were talking about of, you know, games as a whole and liking them and trying to be, you can like a game and not be part of the fandom, but there's those people who immediately lump you in with those said people. Like, oh, you like frickin', you know, let me get an example of a game.
Elder Scrolls?
Not Elder Scrolls. Rainbow Six Siege. You go out and you say you like it. I'm like, oh, dude, those fucking people who played are assholes. They're fucking douches. And I'm like, I like the game, but I'm not a part of the community. Stop trying to lump me in with them. And not every person on Siege is a horrible person. Hell, I used to play Halo MCC. Our match was this is before they really patched and fixed a lot of the game. That what ended up happening is that I got in a match and I was talking into, in the voice that goddamn the lag is bad. A guy on the opposite team, me and him sat there for 20 minutes in a corner talking to each other about how bad the lag is. We ended up becoming friends. It was freaking great. Like, I legitimately would have conversations with people on the opposite team. I'm like, dude, that was a hella good snipe, man. I wish you would teach me them. He's like, dude, we'll sit down some point in time. They added me and they were teaching me how to snipe better. Like, not all people in a community, you cannot lump everybody in a community together and think they're all bad. But majority of Sony fanboys can get so fucking bad that 50% of them spend their time on Twitter and talking on social media than actual playing games. And they'll shit on everything. And they'll try to spit facts, and you put them into a corner, and they'll try to Uno reverse card you, but it blows up in their face, and then they're just damage controlling after that. Like, Xbox fanboys, like, I like all consoles. I'm Xbox, I'm PlayStation, I'm PC, and I'm mobile occasionally. And the thing is that every community has its dark side. Every community has its ups and fucking downs. Like, not every community is going to be, cut and sculpted perfectly. There's gonna be an ass cheek or a testicle missing on a statue, or the dick wasn't curved right. There's always gonna be those inconsistencies and flaws in gaming communities. Look at the emulation community, for example. Not every emulator is created equal. The best 3DS emulator, I think the only one that's really good, is Citra. Like, holy shit. When I was streaming Yokai Watch, I was pulling in 5, 6, 8 people in my stream. And the game ran perfectly. It ran flawlessly. I did have to get a secondary version for Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 3, a Japanese exclusive that was English translated, because the version I had could not fucking handle it. Because it was pretty graphically intensive for a 3DS game, and I was streaming it at like 1080p at 60 frames too. But even at base quality, the game stuttered pretty bad on that variation of that emulator. And I'm surprised my computer can run 3DS games, to be honest. Because I've been playing Alpha Sapphire, Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 3, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance runs at a solid 60 frames at 1080p. The game looks fucking hella dope. And I have a DS emulator with all the previous Dragon Quest games on it, because Dragon Quest is my baby. But you get I was saying that I really wish people would just think before they open their mouth when it comes to saying shit on Twitter, because it's gonna be screenshotted and put into a YouTube video.
And, you know, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10 when it comes to communities, the toxic ones are usually the loudest, and they're the ones that everybody sees.
And they give, like, give the community a bad rep.
Exactly.
But no community will ever be bad as the Hetalia and fucking Homestuck community. Those two motherfucking communities have been warring against each other for years. They actually both got banned from a convention center because the Homestuck fans put a bunch of gray paint all over the walls and didn't fucking clean anything, and left the place in a state of ruin because the Hetalia fans were being assholes and this, that, and the other. Like, you'll have, like, community civil wars over shit. And it was kind of like with the Jacob and Edward fucking groups back when Twilight came out, how bad the fangirls and fanboys got. Yeah,
the whole Team Edward and Team
Jacob.
What's his plug? Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Amphibia actually covered an episode that was basically like that. And there was this movie or something that Anne was showing, or a series, and the whole town got torn apart on 2 different team this and team that, and they were, because it was over something stupid. Because I think it was Polly and Sprig were having an argument with each other, and it ended up where they started, you know, warring over each other until the end, where he ends up defending his sister. And it's just, it shows how bad fandom, pretty much the episode is showing how bad fandoms can get, where it can tear groups of people that care about each other apart over something fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is really look at the, I don't want to say like divide or really sort of like a war, but it's more type of a rivalry between the Star Wars and the Star Trek fandoms.
Yeah, they've been warring against each other since the since the 80s.
Yeah.
And then you got the new Doctor Who fans versus the old Doctor Who fans that have been shitting on each other for years. You got the Game of Thrones fans screaming at Lord of the Rings fans, and then you have the Lord of the Rings fans screaming at the Game of Thrones fans, and the Lord of the Rings fans are like, this is how you do medieval fantasy. You don't have some guy get crossbowed on the fucking toilet. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, god damn, it's like fandoms at this point are just, it's like Family Feud. But a bunch of fucking morons just sticking cactuses up their asses to see who can scream the loudest on social media.
Pretty much.
This video, the funny thing is, this conversation, this kind of like podcasting, it's gone on for an hour and 33 minutes.
I was wondering, because
like,
this might have to be a 2-parter.
I'm not splitting it up. I'm putting the entire... I'm not gonna split this video into 2. It'd be too much work, or I would have to have someone split it in 2.
Yeah.
But, before we end and stuff like that, I just want to have one more, like, conversation before we call it. And I post it up on YouTube later. What time is it for me? Oh, Jesus. Gee Willikers, Batman. It's 10:40. Holy shit, it's only 10:40? I thought it would be like 12 or 1 o'clock already. God damn. But, before we go... Okay, I'm gonna talk about Blizzard. I'm gonna end it off on a Blizzard note.
Blizzard.
Diablo Immortals is...
Here we go.
Oh god, I have a lot to say about this, so this might take a while. But Diablo Immortals is a shit show. A lot of people are concerned about Diablo 4, no matter what, I'm gonna play it, because, you know, it's Diablo 4, and I'm not gonna give a fuck. But Blizzard has been fucking themselves in the butt. They're not what they used to be. They used to release banger after banger, and now... my friend May told me that a group of his friends absolutely despised Diablo 2 Remastered, and they said it was terrible. And I told May, I'm like, what the absolute fuck? It was a great game. And he's like, it's just what they said. I was like, you know, you should play the game yourself and stuff like that. We had a civil conversation about it, so I'm not shitting on May or my friend May or anything. I'm just saying in general that the people that bitched about it the most were the fucking purists, saying the photos were just blah 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 for the picture of the characters.
Nah.
And a bunch of stupid shit like that. Like, if you could put that past you and just focus on the game, it was actually a lot of fun. My biggest concern was it being on Xbox and how it was gonna play. When the beta came out, I played it and all my concerns were quelled. It gave you the first 2 acts to play, 2 full chapters, and my god, it was the best fun I've ever had on console. So, Blizzard has fucked themselves. They shot themselves in the foot with the whole frickin' Warcraft 3 Reforged. A lot of fans were scared that Diablo 2 Resurrected was going to be just as bad, but the people who did the remaster for the Tony Hawk games that did a fucking hell of a good job on Tony Hawk 1 and 2 Remastered were the ones that were doing the remaster for Diablo 2. And the game's still getting updates, this, that, and the other, and I was just happy the game did pretty freaking well. Hell, it's already been cracked by a team called by a group called Blizzless, and they already cracked it where you can play the game offline completely without having a Blizzard account. I read an article about it a few days ago. But guys, thank you for sitting through our rambling for an hour or so about stuff. I'm thinking about doing this every time we hang out, babe, that we make a video, kind of do our own little podcast of just discussing shit.
Yeah.
I think it would be a great project for us.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So, remember, guys, stay fun, stay frosty, tip your waitresses, and don't stick your dick in the cactus juice, in the cactus field. I will talk to you all later. See you in the next one.